So my name is Emma Paoli, and I'm presenting the film Call Him President, which is a film about Liberland, the creation of a new country between Croatia and Serbia.
How do you think that documentary as a genre developed and changed over the past 25 years, 20?
I guess it's hard to say, but what I think is that there are much more documentaries being produced nowadays than 25 years ago, which means certainly that there's more competition and you need to be able to grab a wide audience, which means that maybe documentaries tend to be a bit more trying to be a bit more entertaining than they used to be in the past. I'm not totally sure about that, but I would say that. And I think also that journalism and documentary are getting closer a little bit, which I'm not sure it's a good thing. I think the media industry is taking a bit over the documentary field, you know.
And do you feel that documentary kind of, for you personally, allows you to express yourself kind of freely, or do you think your film needs to be in a certain way?
Yeah, completely, because you're allowed to see things in a subjective way, right? Whereas in journalism, you really need to not necessarily try to be neutral, but try at least to be objective, gives a voice to everyone, you know, involved in a story. Whereas in documentary, you have, the freedom to basically, you know, tell the story through your own eyes, rather than trying to reach the truth or whatever. So yeah, it gives you definitely much more freedom.
So you have a journalism background.
I do, yeah. I used to work in print journalism for Le Monde, the French newspaper, and now I'm working for Al Jazeera. So it's a TV station, basically.
And this was your first documentary?
Yeah.
And how do you think what did you learn by making a documentary compared to journalism?
Well, as I said, I liked the fact that for example, if I had to make the film about Liberland, if I had to do it as a reportage, as a journalism product, I think I would have had much less space, much less freedom in the way I told the story, basically. I would have had to explain what is Liberland, what is a micronation. I would have had to explain what are the president's motivations and everything, which I don't so much do in my film. And I was very happy to have this freedom, you know, of not having to explain everything, not having to name everything, to say, oh, so now he's doing this and now he's doing that. And that's how you should understand it, you know, whereas in documentary, there's this freedom of interpretation, you can understand it the way you want. There's not someone telling you this is what you should think or this is how you should understand it.
And do you think you can adapt the knowledge that you gain making documentaries back
to
into journalism?
I'm not so sure. I think the opposite works. Your background in journalism can help you to make documentaries. I'm not sure your background in documentary can help you to make journalism. Certainly, I think the fact that I've come from a journalist background can help me to structure a story, you know, or to make it easy for a wide audience to understand, or those kind of things, right? Because that's what you learn to do in journalism, to tell a story with simple words and to make it easy to understand for everyone. So this can be helpful when you make a documentary, I guess.
And I'm gonna, how did you come up with this idea of Liberland and the guy?
Yeah.
And what was your initial idea, you know, in the research phase, and then how did it develop throughout the whole filming, and then how did you end up with the end product?
Yeah. So I guess it changed a lot through the filming process, right? I think I was interested in him because, so I was studying at Columbia University, where you have a very high competition among students and everything, and you always, come up with your CV and being oh, I've done this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to shift to documentary filmmaking. I was a print journalist, and I was oh my God, I'm already 28, I'm too late to start a new profession, let's say, right? Or to move to filmmaking because I have not done any films before, blah, blah, blah. And then I've heard of that guy, Vitielichka, the president of Liberland, and he's a guy with no experience in politics, and he just decided, you know, one day that he will like become the president of something, you know. So it's just like I was like, oh, that's funny. It gives me maybe hope. I don't know, but anyway, no, I think I like. You know, I think some people find stories in very simple stuff, like, you know, their neighbor divorcing or this kind of stuff. And I like to go on a journey, and I think there's not a better journey than, you know, the Liberland story, because you don't know where it's going to go. Like, it's an empty land, there's nothing on it, and you don't know what it's going to become, right? So I was interested in this, and then when I got there, I think what caught my attention was like the contrast between the president, who's really, you know, looking into the future, who is like in this Bitcoin community, blah, 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 very like into high technology, and the place, like the land where he decided to create his country, where people are really turned towards the past, very nostalgic toward like what, you know, Yugoslavia and this kind of thing. So I was interested in the contrast between this guy and the people evolving around the land where he decided to create his own country. If that makes sense.
Your film definitely opened some questions, and I'm wondering, when you've previously screened your film, how was the reaction of people?
So it depends to which audience. Like, for example, so I used to study in London, and some people would not understand my film. I understand, because it's a bit confusing, right? Because you need to understand what's a micronation. You need to know that there's a border between Croatia and Serbia. You need to know that there was a war between the two countries, like many people don't. And my film don't really say it. So if you don't have this prior knowledge, you may watch the documentary and be like, I don't understand what's the story about, right? But when I showed it to like a Serbian audience, Croatian audience, and yesterday Romanian audience, people laugh, and I like it, because they understand. They don't need, like, you know, all this prior explanation of what the movie is about. And I've seen, like, yeah, when I showed it to Kustendorf Film Festival, like there were maybe 100 people in the room, and everybody was laughing like crazily, which makes me very happy. I think it's not easy to make people laugh, so it's good.
Well, one other question would be like, how hard do you think it was to film in that context, being in a different country and then with the subject himself?
Yeah. So it was easy to film the president and his minister because they're looking for media's attention, right? So they are happy being filmed because, I mean, Liberland only exists in the media sphere, right? Like, if you, otherwise it has no existence. So he was happy to have a journalist following him. So this part was easy. Then I guess what was more difficult in the process of making the film was to make a film about a place you never see. Like, it's about Liberland, but because I couldn't go to Liberland, otherwise I would have been arrested by the Croatian police. Like, I made a film about something like you hardly see in the film. So that was one of the challenges, I guess. Maybe there was another challenge, but no, I feel like I was really welcomed in Serbia, Croatia, even though I don't speak the language. People were really nice, really welcoming. They helped me translate, you know, when I was doing interviews and everything. So that part was quite easy.
And I have a specific question, because you said you'll be arrested, right? If you step
If you go on the land, on Liberland, you got arrested automatically, like if the Croatian police is there. Like, the president got arrested 3 times, I think, trying to reach his land. One other filmmaker got arrested as well, filming the president on the land. And so at one point in the documentary, you see us, me and the president of Liberland, going on the land, but I was really with the camera, like, you know, shaking and being, oh my God, I hope the Croatian police is not going to come up, because otherwise I'm going to end up in jail for like maybe a few days, which is never nice, right?
But is it dangerous for just random people being there if they don't have anything to do with Liberland?
I think it depends. Like, maybe if you're Croatian, you can go on the land more easily than if you are like I mean, I think this small land is protected by the Croatian police because they don't want Liberland to be created, but also because there's refugees, you know, crossing actually from Serbia to get into European Union. So it's a land that's really protected, and normally you're not supposed to go on it now.
Also, you were a student while you made the film?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what was the support that you got from your university?
I mean, it was nice because I was completely alone making the film. So I did the sound, the camera work, the editing, the producing, like absolutely everything with €0, like no budget. But what was good is that at school we had someone that would look at our footage and try to help us to, create a narrative out of the footage we got. But yeah, so that was a great support, I guess. But other than that, we didn't get any financial support or anything. But I think it's okay because, it's your first film and you need to learn, to try with nothing. It's like a great way to learn, I think, no?
And how were you influenced by your film being selected to festivals and, being recognized?
Nicely. I mean, I was so, I'm using Costa Rica's music in my film. And I love Costa Rica's film, and I was so happy to be able to screen my film at Kustendorf, which is Costa Rica's film festival. So for me, that was like a huge achievement. Other than that, it was screened at Zagreb Docs, which is really cool, and Astra Film Festival. So yeah, no, I mean, it gives me hope that maybe I can try making other documentaries, certainly.